The notification popped up while I was sipping my morning coffee. A text from my dad. Saw your new car on Instagram. Impressive. We should talk. 3 years of silence. 3 years of being ghosted by the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally, and now this. I could still picture my wedding day, every detail etched into my mind. The photographer asking where my family was, the empty seats at the head table, that awkward pause when my fiancé, Jake, whispered, "Maybe they'll show up later," but they didn't. My mom and dad, my little brother Liam, even my sister, none of them cared to come. My dad thought he was reaching out to the successful daughter he had ignored for years. What he didn't know was that I didn't need their approval anymore. My name's Sierra, I'm 30, and the Lamborghini in that Instagram post wasn't just a car. It was proof that I built my life on my own terms. My tech startup had just been acquired by Amazon for $48 million. Every line of code, every late-night debugging session, every time I'd pushed myself past exhaustion, I did it all without a single word of encouragement from them. That Lamborghini represented freedom, independence, the power to choose who deserves a place in my life. And now, it was time to see how my family would react when they realized they'd missed the ride. It all started when I was 10. Christmas morning, 2004. My sister Chloe unwrapped a brand new MacBook. I got a Barbie mansion. I asked Mom why Chloe got a computer. She said, "Chloe's going to be an engineer. You should focus on more age-appropriate things." I spent that Christmas learning to make shapes move across the screen on Chloe's computer. By the end of the day, I had made a little animation of Santa sliding down a chimney. When I proudly showed my dad, he patted my head and said, "That's nice, sweetheart. Now go help your mother set the table." By middle school, I was obsessed with programming. Sneaking onto Chloe's laptop whenever I could, I taught myself HTML, JavaScript, and even a bit of Python from library books. When I was 14, I entered a nationwide coding competition. 3 months, countless late nights, and I built a website that helped students track homework deadlines. The night before the award ceremony, Chloe had a cheerleading competition. "We can't miss Chloe's big game," Mom said, as I stood there in my dress, trophy in hand. My victory meant nothing. They called it a hobby, a pastime, not a career. College was worse. I got accepted into MIT for computer science with a partial scholarship. I needed $15,000 for the rest of tuition. I shared my excitement with my parents, expecting at least a hint of support. Dad frowned. "Sierra, computer science isn't realistic. You should study something stable, nursing, teaching, something safe." Mom chimed in. "Chloe needs our help. She has real potential." "You're fine." Chloe, who had barely passed high school. Chloe, who changed her major 3 times. Chloe, who got a full scholarship she never finished. I worked 3 jobs to fund my education. I cleaned offices at night, tutored kids on weekends, and delivered food between classes. While Chloe celebrated her 21st birthday with a new car, I survived on ramen and slept on the floor of the computer lab to save on heating bills. After graduation, I moved back home temporarily while applying for tech jobs. That's when I told them my big dream. I had been developing an AI program that could help detect early signs of illnesses from medical scans. "I want to start my own company," I announced one evening. "I think I've built something revolutionary," Chloe laughed. "Sierra thinks she's the next Elon Musk," she said. Dad chuckled. "You can't just play with computers in your garage and expect to become a millionaire. Get a real job with benefits. What if it works?" I asked. "What if I can save lives?" "Someone smarter than you will figure it out first," Mom said, slicing her steak. "Stop chasing fantasies." That Tuesday, I packed my things and left. I never looked back. The final blow came 3 years ago on my wedding day. I had sent invitations weeks in advance, confirmed with them multiple times, even reserved front row seats. That morning, Chloe called. "We have my baby shower today. Mom and Dad are coming." "Sorry, family comes first," I whispered into the phone. "You know what I mean?" "This is important. Your wedding is just a party," she replied. I walked down the aisle to 15 people. My closest friends, my mentor Dr. Lin, and Jake's small family. The empty church was the moment I realized something crucial. Chasing the approval of people who never saw my worth was a waste of life. After the wedding, I immersed myself in my AI project. Tiny San Francisco apartment, air mattress, dollar store pasta for weeks. Jake supported me even when his savings funded our groceries. I coded 18-hour days, refining my algorithm until it could detect anomalies in scans with 95% accuracy, better than most doctors. Investors were brutal. The first pitch? Interesting, but you lack experience to scale this, they said. The second? Medical AI is dominated by billion-dollar companies. What makes you think you can compete? By the 10th rejection, I was exhausted. Jake was working double shifts to keep us afloat. Some nights, I questioned if I was chasing a dream that would never happen. But deep down, I refused to quit. Then it happened. The breakthrough pitch. Dr. Emily Chen from VentureMed saw potential. 3 hours of technical questioning later, she said 5 words that changed my life. We want to invest in you. $2 million. Enough to hire a team, rent office space, and live without ramen for every meal. But I still didn't tell my family. They had dismissed me for years. Sharing success with them felt pointless. 3 years later, clinical trials, partnerships, regulatory approvals. Everything culminated when Amazon acquired my company for $48 million. The very same people who ignored my wedding, my college wins, and my struggles had no idea how far I'd come. And that's when my dad texted. The morning after Dad's text, I sat at my kitchen counter, staring at my phone. I hadn't replied yet. The words he sent felt heavy with a mix of curiosity and entitlement. We should talk. After everything, 3 years of silence, and suddenly they want to talk. I called my college roommate, Lila, the one person who truly understood my family. She'd been my maid of honor at that tiny wedding, the only person in my corner that day. Sierra, I saw your Instagram, she said. Her tone was amused but sharp. That Lamborghini, gorgeous. But I'm guessing this isn't a celebration call. I laughed a little bitterly. You guessed right. Dad texted. 3 years of ignoring me, and now he decides I'm worth talking to because of a car. Lila groaned. Let me guess. They still have no idea about the Amazon acquisition? Not a clue, I admitted. They think I'm some lucky programmer who bought an expensive car. I didn't tell them a thing. Her voice went sharp. Sierra, you built a $48 million company, and they don't even know? Exactly. And I'm not telling them just to feed their egos. They chose Chloe over me for decades. They made their choice. We fell into silence for a moment. Then Lila asked gently, So, what are you going to do? I'd thought about it all night. I wanted to be honest, but not in the way they expected. I'm going to tell him the truth. But on my terms, I said. What do you mean? I donated $35 million to create scholarships for underprivileged girls who want to pursue tech careers. I kept enough to live comfortably, but most of it's already helping other people's daughters follow their dreams. Lila laughed, a mix of admiration and disbelief. Oh my God, they are going to lose it. Good, I said. Maybe they'll finally understand what they lost when they chose Chloe over me. I thought about my real family. Lila, who stayed up late helping me prep pitches. Dr. Lin, who wrote recommendation letters and guided me through the hardest parts. Jake, who believed in me when no one else did. My small but brilliant team who lived in the office as much as I did. They were the ones who mattered. I'm planning a dinner, I told Lila. For everyone who actually supported me. Will you help me organize it? Absolutely, she said. It's time you celebrated with people who deserve it. For the first time in 3 years, I felt ready to face my family, not because I needed their approval, but because I wanted them to see exactly what they had missed. I reserved the private dining room at the Sterling, a sleek new restaurant in downtown San Francisco. 20 people who had believed in me when my own family wouldn't. Lila flew in from Portland. Dr. Lin drove from Palo Alto. My development team, early investors, Jake's family, and the few cousins who had actually shown up to my wedding. The room glowed with warm candlelight. White orchids lined the table. Every detail had been planned meticulously. Each place setting had a personalized letter thanking each person for their specific role in my journey. For Lila, I wrote about the nights she stayed up helping me practice pitch presentations. For Dr. Lin, I thanked her for teaching me that intelligence isn't limited by gender. Jake squeezed my hand as people arrived. This is perfect, he whispered. Look at all the love in here. He was right. The room buzzed with genuine warmth. These people had watched me code until 3 a.m., had celebrated small breakthroughs with cheap pizza and boxed wine. They knew the struggle, the victories, the relentless nights. During dinner, I stood with my glass of champagne. My hands trembled slightly, but my voice remained steady. 3 years ago, I got married with only 15 people in the church, I began. Some saw that as failure. I see it differently. Those 15 people were exactly the right people. Lila wiped a tear. Dr. Lin nodded approvingly. Tonight, I want to announce something special, I continued. I've established the Code Future Foundation with $35 million from my recent acquisition. We're providing full scholarships to underprivileged girls who want to study computer science. The room erupted in applause. My developer, Maria, stood first. Sierra, this is incredible. You're changing lives, Lila raised her glass. To Sierra, who built an empire while others built excuses. Who proved the right family isn't about blood, it's about belief. As everyone toasted, I felt something I'd never experienced with my birth family. Complete acceptance. These people celebrated my victories without jealousy, supported my dreams without conditions, and loved me without asking me to shrink myself to fit into their comfort zones. My phone sat silently on the table. No messages from Chloe, no calls from my parents, no idea what was happening. For the first time in 30 years, their absence felt like a gift instead of a wound. The next morning, I responded to Dad's text. Straightforward, honest. Thanks for reaching out. My company was acquired by Amazon for $48 million. I've donated most of it to help girls pursue computer science. Let me know if you want to catch up. My phone rang within 10 minutes. Dad's voice was sharp. Sierra, what do you mean you donated our money? Not congratulatory, not proud, angry. Not our money, I said calmly. It was mine, from the company you called a fantasy. But I wanted it to mean something. I invested in girls who need support. Mom's voice appeared in the background, icy. How could you be so selfish? Chloe is struggling, and you're giving away millions to strangers? I held the phone steady. You mean girls like me? Girls whose families didn't believe in them? Chloe grabbed the phone next. This is ridiculous, Sierra. You owe us. We're your family. These girls mean nothing to you. They're everything to me, I said quietly. They're me at 10, discovering a world no one thought I could be part of. Lila, who'd been listening, stepped forward. This is Maya, I corrected her. I was Sierra's maid of honor at the wedding. None of you attended. I watched her live on instant ramen while building a company now helping thousands. You abandoned her. You had your chance to be part of her life, and you weren't. This isn't about you profiting. It's about supporting those who deserve it. The line went silent. I hung up. My hands weren't shaking anymore. Within hours, my phone filled with messages from the people who mattered. Lila sent photos from the dinner, hearts covering every picture. Dr. Lin emailed a detailed note of pride and encouragement. Jake's mom called, gushing about how proud she was. The foundation's application portal crashed from the overwhelming response. Over 2,500 girls applied in the first week, essays that made me cry. Stories of teachers who doubted them, families who didn't support them, and kids who wanted someone to believe in them. For the first time, I felt complete peace with my family situation. The absence of my birth family no longer felt like rejection. It felt like freedom. I wasn't chasing approval anymore. I was building a legacy, and this time, the people who got a seat at my table earned it. A week after the dinner, my phone had gone mostly silent again. Not from lack of attention, it was from purpose. I was immersed in reviewing scholarship applications, responding to messages from girls whose lives were about to change. Every essay I read reminded me of myself at 10, desperate to be seen, desperate for someone to believe I could do more than anyone thought. Then, out of nowhere, Dad called. I debated letting it go to voicemail, but curiosity won. Sierra, he said, voice trembling slightly. We need to talk, I laughed quietly. About the scholarships? Or the car? Or the fact that your daughter built a company worth millions while you were busy ignoring her? There was a pause on the line. Then carefully he said, all of it. We want to understand. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. This wasn't about being vindictive. I wasn't trying to punish them. I wanted them to see the consequences of their choices, but on my terms. You want to understand? I asked, voice soft but firm. Let me tell you something. I started coding on a Christmas day when you gave Chloe a computer and me a dollhouse. Every award you ignored, every late night you didn't notice, every opportunity I had to succeed without you. I did it alone, and now I'm giving back. That's my choice. Another silence. Then Dad's voice was low. Sierra, I don't even know what to say. Exactly, I replied. You didn't notice me when I was fighting for a future. And now you can either be proud of what I've built or you can step aside. He hesitated. We want to meet you. To talk. To make amends. I laughed again, but it wasn't a bitter laugh. It was a quiet acknowledgement of control. I'll meet anyone who shows up with respect, Dad. But understand this. The days of me bending for your approval are over. I hung up and felt lighter than I had in years. I didn't need their validation. I had already built a life filled with people who truly cared. People who celebrated every small victory. Who didn't compare me to Chloe. Who didn't dismiss my dreams. The next few weeks were surreal. Messages flooded in from girls accepted into the foundation. Parents thanked me for seeing potential where they hadn't. Teachers wrote about students who finally believed in themselves because someone else had chosen to invest in their future. I began hosting weekly virtual meetups for scholarship recipients, teaching them coding tips, and sharing my journey. Then came the inevitable social media storm. My Lamborghini post had gone viral, but now the scholarship announcements hit thousands more. People started sharing my story. The neglected daughter turned tech mogul. The woman who took heartbreak and neglect and turned it into opportunity. Comments poured in. You are living proof that blood doesn't define family. This is the inspiration I needed for my daughter. And predictably, my parents' reactions began to leak online. Messages from extended family trickled in. My mom posted a cryptic comment on Instagram. Sometimes we don't realize the treasures in front of us until they're gone. Chloe sent me a long private message, half apology, half accusation, demanding to know why I hadn't given them money directly. I didn't respond. I wanted to maintain control. I wasn't here to defend my choices. I was here to continue building something meaningful. Then came a knock at my door. It was Lila, suitcase in hand. Big day, she said, grinning. You ready? I raised an eyebrow. What big day? She smirked. You're finally going to meet them in person. You said you'd do it on your terms. They're here. Your dad, Mom, Chloe, they're outside waiting. I felt a rush of old emotions. Anger, hurt, disbelief. But underneath it all, a steady calm. I was no longer the girl desperate for approval. I was the woman who had built her empire from nothing, who had a room full of people who mattered at her back. I grabbed my coat and stepped outside. The sleek black SUV pulled up, and there they were. Dad, suit slightly wrinkled, Mom clutching her purse nervously, and Chloe, hair perfectly done, eyes wide. They all looked exactly as I remembered, but smaller somehow, in the presence of my confidence. Hi, I said simply. No warmth, no apology, just acknowledgement. Dad swallowed. Sierra. Hi, Dad, I said evenly. Mom, Chloe, Mom's voice cracked slightly. We didn't realize. I held up a hand. You realize now. That's all that matters. I want you to see what your absence cost you. Not to punish you, but to show you. Chloe tried to interrupt, but I ignored her. Instead, I took a deep breath and began to explain my journey. From that Christmas day with the MacBook to MIT, the countless rejections, the nights Jake worked extra shifts to support me, the investors who said I'd fail, and finally the acquisition by Amazon. Every detail mattered. Every story was proof that I had built this life alone. By the time I finished, Dad's shoulders slumped. Mom's eyes were watery. Chloe looked deflated. I wasn't gloating. I was stating facts. I was telling my story. I donated most of the money, I said finally, to create scholarships for girls who need someone to believe in them. Girls like me at 10, discovering coding on a computer no one thought I should touch. The silence was heavy. Then Dad said quietly, almost reverently, We had no idea. I nodded. Now you do. I didn't expect them to understand fully. But that didn't matter. I had done my part, asserted boundaries, shown strength, and made sure my legacy went to those who deserved it. Lila came forward, gently nudging my arm. "They'll have to earn their place," she whispered. I smiled. They already lost that chance. As I walked back into my apartment, I felt lighter than ever. The Lamborghini in the driveway wasn't just a car. It was a symbol. A symbol that success, independence, and self-worth are earned, not given. That family isn't always who's related to you. It's who shows up when it counts. That night, I sat back with a glass of wine, scrolling through messages from scholarship applicants. Stories of perseverance, determination, and dreams ignited inside them. I realized something profound. Their success, their hope, their belief. That was my real family now. And for the first time, I didn't feel the need to look back. 2 days later, I got a call from Chloe. Her tone was sharp, frustrated. "Sierra, I don't get it. Why would you give away millions to strangers when your family needs help? Do you have any idea what it feels like to be us?" I took a deep breath, steadying myself. This was the conversation I had been anticipating, but now I had the power. The power to choose my words, my tone, my boundaries. "Chloe," I said calmly, "you think this is about money? It's not. It's about respect, support, and belief. Something you had plenty of, but never extended to me. You think giving you a check will heal decades of neglect? It won't. It never could." There was a pause. Then her voice cracked slightly. "But you're my sister. Family comes first." I felt a twinge of pity, but only for a second. Family doesn't mean automatically taking priority over everyone else, Chloe. Family means showing up, supporting, believing. You and Mom and Dad weren't there for me when it counted. I lived in that truth for 30 years. Now, I choose differently. I could hear her trembling on the other end. "So, you'd rather help random girls than your own family?" I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. "Exactly. Those girls needed someone to believe in them, someone to open doors I had to force open myself. I couldn't wait for you to suddenly realize my worth." Chloe started arguing again, but I cut her off. "Let me make something clear. I'm not cutting you out because I hate you. I'm cutting you out because I've learned where my energy matters. I've learned that my life is too precious to give to people who never supported me. You can try to be part of it now, but it has to be on my terms." She fell silent. I knew she was processing, but it didn't matter if she approved. What mattered was that I had the courage to set boundaries. Finally. Later that evening, Lila and I sat together, laughing softly over takeout. "You handled that perfectly," she said. "I thought she'd break you, but you stayed calm." "I've realized," I said, staring at my hands, "that their reaction no longer defines me. For 30 years, I chased approval that didn't exist. Now I invest my life in people who see my worth." The next week, the foundation launched its first coding workshop. Over 50 girls signed up for mentorship, coding classes, and one-on-one guidance. Watching them, I remembered myself, curious, eager, overlooked. Every time one of them solved a tough problem, I felt their victory as if it were my own. And then the texts started coming. First Dad, hesitantly, "Sierra, we're proud of you, I mean it. We didn't show it before, but we are." I didn't respond immediately. Pride wasn't a free ticket to erase years of absence. Mom's message followed. "I just wish we could have been part of your life sooner." "We were wrong," I replied carefully. "I hear you. I've built a life with people who showed up. You're welcome to be part of it, but only if you respect the choices I've made." Chloe texted later that night, a longer message, full of excuses, demands, and grudging admiration. I read it, then set my phone aside. It wasn't for me to decide her growth. It was for me to continue building mine. A week later, we held the second foundation dinner. This time, I invited some of the girls and their families, mentors, investors, and everyone who had been part of the journey. The room was filled with excitement, laughter, and light. Candlelight danced across smiling faces. I stood at the head of the table, glass in hand. When I was 10, my family ignored me. When I was 14, my achievements were dismissed. When I got married, they weren't there. But every setback taught me something invaluable: resilience, independence, and the value of choosing your own family. Tonight we celebrate all of you, The people who believed, the people who invested, the people who never let me give up on myself. Applause filled the room. Lila whispered, "Look at them. You've built a family stronger than any I've ever seen." And she was right. This family didn't share DNA. It shared loyalty, belief, and unwavering support. I realized then that the void left by my birth family wasn't a weakness. It was the space where I could create something truly extraordinary. Later, Jake and I stepped onto the balcony, overlooking the city lights. "You know," he said, "this is bigger than I imagined. Not just the company, not just the scholarships. This is your life, fully yours." I smiled, feeling the weight lift from my shoulders. "I know. And for the first time, I feel like every choice I made was the right one. No regrets. No looking back." My phone buzzed. Another message from Dad. He was trying again. This time it wasn't sharp or angry. Just a tentative, "Can we meet for coffee?" "I want to understand better." I stared at it. I could feel the old anger bubbling, but I also felt something new. Control. I could decide if and when I wanted to meet them, and if they didn't meet me on my terms, that was on them. I typed a simple reply. "I'll consider it." And that was enough. I didn't owe them anything more than honesty, and I had given them that. The rest was up to them. That night, I went back inside, poured a glass of wine, and looked at the thank you letters I'd written to my supporters. The girls in the foundation, Lila, Dr. Lin, my team, they were my real family. And I finally understood. I didn't need validation from those who abandoned me. My worth had been proven every single day in the lives I touched, the successes I created, and the people who believed when no one else did. Sierra, me, was no longer the overlooked, underestimated girl from Christmas morning. I was the woman who transformed neglect into empowerment, absence into opportunity, and rejection into triumph. And the best part? This was only the beginning, because the foundation wasn't just about scholarships. It was about creating a ripple effect. Every girl I helped could become a woman like me, someone unstoppable, unapologetic, and unafraid to carve her own path, even when the people who were supposed to love her most didn't see her potential. As I drifted off to sleep that night, I felt a deep, unshakable peace. The Lamborghini in my garage wasn't just a symbol of success. It was proof that I had finally taken control of my story, my family, and my life. And no one could ever take that away from me. A week later, I got a text from Dad again. This time it wasn't demanding, sharp, or entitled. It read, "Sierra, can we meet? Just talk. No expectations." I stared at my phone, thinking of all the years they ignored me. The missed graduations, the absent encouragement, the empty seats at my wedding. I could feel anger simmering, but it no longer controlled me. I was in charge now. I typed back slowly. "Okay, let's talk. But understand this, nothing is owed, and respect is non-negotiable." We agreed to meet at a small cafe near my apartment. When I arrived, they were already there. Dad fidgeting, Mom clutching her bag, Chloe standing stiffly beside them. "Hi," I said simply. No warmth, no apology, just acknowledgement. Dad cleared his throat. "Sierra, we've been selfish. We didn't support you. We didn't see your potential. And I regret it." Mom's voice trembled. "We missed so many important moments. We were wrong, truly wrong." Chloe shifted uncomfortably. I thought you'd always be there, and I didn't realize. I didn't appreciate." She trailed off, eyes down. I studied them calmly, feeling the weight of 30 years of disappointment and neglect. And yet, I felt no bitterness, not anymore. "I appreciate your words," I said carefully. "But what matters isn't regret. It's actions, and actions speak louder than words. For decades, you didn't act. I had to build a life without you." There was a pause. They looked small, humbled in a way they never had before. "I started a company," I continued, "when no one believed in me. I coded nights on an air mattress, survived on instant noodles, and pushed through rejection after rejection. I built something meaningful. I've helped people who truly needed me, girls who had no one to believe in them. And now, I've created a family that shows up, supports, and celebrates each other's successes." Dad nodded slowly. "We see that now. We should have been there. We didn't realize how much we hurt you." I shook my head. "It's not about apologies. It's about understanding the consequences of neglect. You had every chance to be proud of me, to support me, and you didn't. I made the choice to invest in people who actually care. Chloe's voice wavered. Do you forgive us? I looked at her for a long moment. I've learned that forgiveness isn't about erasing the past. It's about freeing yourself from the pain it caused. I'm not holding on to anger anymore, but you don't get to dictate my life, my choices, or my priorities. That's mine. Mom's eyes welled up. We want to be part of your life if you'll allow it. I nodded slowly. You can be, but understand this, it's not automatic. It's earned, and it starts with respect, not demands. There was silence. Then Chloe spoke quietly. I think I understand now. I've been selfish. I've always wanted to be seen, but I never saw you the way I should have. I smiled faintly. You're starting to see. That's enough for now. The rest will take time, but it starts with acknowledging the truth. After the meeting, I walked home and reflected on the journey. 30 years of struggle, rejection, and dismissal had led me to this exact moment. The Lamborghini in my garage, the thriving company, the scholarships, the girls whose lives I was changing. It all represented one thing: independence. My phone buzzed again. This time, texts from Lila, Dr. Lynn, Jake, and my team filled the screen, full of encouragement, pride, and love. This was my real family, the people who believed when no one else did. I opened the foundation portal later that evening and read applications from girls all over the country. Girls who reminded me of 10-year-old me. Girls who needed someone to believe in them. And I realized something powerful. The absence of my birth family had created the space for this. Their neglect had forced me to find my own strength, my own people, and my own legacy. The next day, I got a package. Inside was a handwritten note from my parents and Chloe. It read, "We see now. We were blind to your worth. Thank you for showing us what we missed. We hope to learn from you and support your vision going forward." I placed it on my desk, next to photos of the scholarship girls at our first workshop. I didn't feel pride for them. It wasn't about proving them wrong. I felt gratitude for my own journey, for the people who had supported me unconditionally, for the life I had built with intention. Weeks later, at the Foundation's annual dinner, I stood at the podium. Lila, Dr. Lynn, Jake, and my team surrounded me. I looked out at the sea of bright, eager faces, girls who had been underestimated, overlooked, and doubted. When I was 10, I began. My own family didn't see me. My achievements, my dreams, my potential, they didn't matter to them. But that absence didn't stop me. It taught me something crucial. Your worth isn't defined by the people who ignore you. It's defined by the impact you create, the love you give, and the strength you find in yourself. Applause erupted. Girls cheered, mentors smiled, and I felt a warmth deeper than any I had ever felt with my birth family. I continued. Today, we celebrate resilience. We celebrate belief. And we celebrate the power of choosing your family. Those who invest in you, who encourage you, who show up when it matters. Blood doesn't make a family. Loyalty, support, and love do. Later, as the crowd mingled, I noticed my parents in the corner. They weren't intruding. They were observing, learning, and slowly understanding. I didn't need their approval, but I allowed them to witness what I had built. It was enough for them to see. That night, I returned home, poured a glass of wine, and sat beside the Lamborghini. It wasn't just a car, it was a symbol of my journey, of challenges overcome, of a life forged through perseverance, passion, and determination, of a family I chose, built from people who never let me down. I reflected on every rejection, every empty seat, every dismissive comment. They had shaped me, yes, but they had not broken me. In fact, they had created the space for something greater. As I scrolled through the messages from scholarship recipients, I smiled. Stories of ambition, courage, and hope filled the screen. These girls were the proof that my journey mattered, that the struggles of my past could become the foundation for someone else's success. And in that moment, I realized something profound. Success isn't about proving people wrong. It's about creating a life so meaningful, so full of purpose and love, that their opinions become irrelevant. I raised my glass to the night sky, to the city lights, and to the countless girls who would change the world because someone finally believed in them. I didn't need validation from my birth family anymore. I had something far greater, a legacy. And that, more than any car, any acquisition, any recognition, was worth more than anything in the world.